Hello everyone, and thanks for tuning in to my online lesson on factorising quadratics. So factorising quadratics, like the one I have here in my example, it's sort of similar to factorising single brackets. I'm aiming to put it back into brackets, but this time it's going to be double brackets that I put it back into, because when I expand double brackets, that's when I get a quadratic like the one here. So I need to factorise this. So I'm just going to show you first what happens when I expand brackets, because factorising is working backwards. So let me just pick a pair of brackets to expand and let's see what happens. So here's just an example. When I expand this, the final answer I get, so I'm going to skip a step here, I'm going to just go straight to the final answer. I get x squared, I get a 6x and a 3x, so I get 9x. And then I get add 18 on the end. And what we notice, what's happening here is this number and this number here get multiplied together to give the end number, and they actually get added together to give this middle number here in front of the x. So there's sort of a pattern going on, and this works every time as long as I'm not dealing with a 2x in my brackets here or a 3x. As long as it's just single x's, this pattern always works. So when it comes to factorising, I'm just looking at these numbers here and trying to find what two numbers multiply to give the 10 and add to give the 7. So it might be obvious what these are, but I'm going to show you the way of doing it so we get it every time. So I'm going to start by listing all the pairs of numbers that multiply to give 10. So I have 1 and 10, or 2 and 5. And then I'm looking for which one of these pairs will add to give 7. Well, it's the 2 and the 5. So these must be the two numbers in my double brackets. So my answer is x add 2 and x add 5. And that's my factorising done. I could have wrote this the other way and it wouldn't have mattered. I could have wrote x add 5 and x plus 2. It's the same thing, so either one of those is fine for 2 marks. So this is a slightly harder example here. So this is x squared minus 3x minus 10. So the same rule works as before. I'm looking for two numbers that multiply together to give minus 10, but they also have to add to give minus 3. So this time it's not as obvious what my two numbers are. And this is why we need this technique that I showed you in the last example. So pairs of numbers that multiply to make minus 10. Well, if two numbers multiply to make a minus, one of them must be a negative and one of them a positive. So I can have 1 and minus 10, or I can have minus 1 and 10. And then I can have 2 and minus 5, or minus 2 and 5. And those are all my possible pairs. Now I'm looking which of these will add to make minus 3. Well, I can see it's this one here, the third one down. So this one here. So those are my two numbers. So in my brackets I'm going to have x, and it's a positive 2 plus 2, and x minus 5. And again, the brackets, it doesn't matter if I'd have done it the other way around. I could have said x minus 5 and x plus 2. Either way around is fine, and that will get me the 2 marks. It's important you understand this method here, that we always start by writing down pairs that multiply to make the end number first, and then check which one adds to make what I want. Because sometimes the numbers can be more complicated than this. So we need to know how to do this step here. Here's two examples for you to try. The first one is a more simple one because I just have positive here and here, so it's slightly easier. And this one's slightly more complex because I've got a negative and a positive. Pause the video and unpause when you're ready to see the solutions. Here's the full work solutions. I deliberately picked the first one because it's one that students often look at and just think, oh, the answer's 3 and 2. It just sort of jumps out at you. we've got to be really careful. We're looking for numbers that multiply to make 5 and add to make 6. So the actual answer is 5 and 1. And then the second one's also a different one, because this one is I'm looking for numbers that multiply to make 14 but add to make -9. So if I try 1 and 14 and 2 and 7, it doesn't work. Well, I have to start using my double negatives, because -1 times -14 is 14, and -2 times -7 is 14. So that's the actual answer. It's the last one there. So it's -7 and -2. Thank you for watching.